Welcome back, everybody, to the start of game number 3 here in our elimination match. Have at least 2 more games to go remaining in the day. As, okay, we get some action to start things off. We're not going to have too much more damage onto Glory. I don't think he's going to have to flash, but I mean, they're just, it's Cerberus flexing a little bit of the early game domination, saying, hey, we're going to get things done. As let's talk about draft a little bit, Mobby, before we jump into anything else, because we have some interesting opinions on things that went down.
Yeah, what does Blitzcrank do here? Blitzcrank, you're gonna have a rough. You should have a bad time trying to hook Zeri, bad time trying to hook Rakan. You're hoping to get Talia, maybe interrupt a Vi, or put Vi into a bad position, but you could have just picked Thresh or Braum, and you would have absolutely smashed the lane, and you would have been able to deny so much of what Cerberus is able to do. And Robot.
Listen. Hey, now tell me something, okay? If this were Team Flash and this were Sora's Blitzcrank, would you be talking this much shit? No, you would not, okay? No, you would not, because he's the best Blitzcrank player. Sora's allowed to play Blitzcrank. He is probably the next best, all right? So, like, cut him an ounce of slack, all right? He's got the skill. He's learning from the master Sora himself, trying to figure out how to play the champion. Again, figuring out how it's going to get piloted, the one benefit is, of course, you can use this when you hit level 3 with Xayah, that if you tag either one of these two, you can actually just, like, full eradicate them with a feather pull. Makes it a lot easier to kind of work things out with the silence as well on the top end of things does help when you're able to kind of pull, because then Rano, he can't use anything to get out. You can't really use anything if you're Yato or Artemis in that circumstance. Maybe there's some benefit to it. My more egregious one is that we see Pun in the top lane go for the Olaf instead of going for the Mundo, because no one's going to kill Mundo in 100 years. As Killer Queen gets a gank into the mid lane, Yato's going to miss the seismic shove, and just like that, it's going to be not first blood yet, as Yato is going to be able to... No, okay, Killer Queen's going to be able to close the gap very, very easily, and he's going to walk away with first blood. Yeah, and didn't even actually need to blow the flash to follow up, so all coming up pretty well for the side of Team Wales. Now, the Olaf definitely could cause some troubles. Go get him. He's gonna have a walk in. You coward. Killer Queen has smite. He should be fine. Yeah. But Pun on Mundo takes that, by the way. Pun on Mundo takes that. But yeah, it's a little bit interesting as we sort of pan across the map. We also get to see Artemis not actually taking cleanse into this Lissandra, into this Viego. So could just end up backfiring pretty heavily, as now Trackbot is in the area and will deny the That's number works. 2, Yato getting bullied yet again, as Killer Queen and Glory want the smoke on that one. Here comes Pun! He's got the ghost! There's no way to get out if you're Killer Queen. That's going to be one going over to Pun. Now Glory's going to get stuck up as well. Has the flash readily available. Is going to use that W. Can you find anything else? Nah, that is not going to land. The axe is not going to be able to tag up, and that means that the play is going to die, as it's a 1-for-1 as Pun walks away with a kill. If you are Nagia, you are going to be cursing the other 2 members of your team, but ultimately it doesn't matter all that much. Pun? Okay, Nagia, that was not the greatest of decisions. Yeah. You're going to pop the W, you're going to pop the E, you're going to pop all Qs. Nagia's got no way out of this one. Flashes that one, and now is going to keep going. He has to pop Ghost, but this Qs, he misses the important one, and Fit on the bottom side of the map ends up getting traded as a 1-for-1 on the bottom side. Leads to a kill for Artemis. We got action everywhere, Mobby. Yeah, that's not great. You don't want the kills going in that direction, but at least Vit was the one able to secure kill credit on Toronto P. But yeah, really, Nakira's really. Look at that! He lands the hook. They do a lot of damage, but Ron, it's just a classic Vit greeding for the kill, flashing really aggressively and putting himself into a bad position where Artemis is able to get the kill convert, and Artemis picks that up fine. But yeah, if we look towards the top side, Nagira is upset, not necessarily because of the kill. It's a 1-for-1, but Pun got a blue buff out of it, so he just gets to throw axes forever, and that makes you really upset, because that is usually quite mana hungry. But blue buff kind of fixes that for Mr. Olaf. But either way, the mid jungle is off to a fantastic start. Glory and Killer Queen able to put a few kills onto the board, thanks to Yato stepping up a little bit too much against this CC chain. And now Killer Queen can push in with complete control, complete confidence,
and set up. Make sure there's no one in this spot side jungle, and check it and make sure dragon control is pretty much on the board for Team Wales.
You know what's really wild to me, where we're going to see Team Wales kind of capture control of bottom side. The Zion, the Blitzcrank should feel perfectly fine, being able to support Killer Queen's endeavor and taking this one as kind of everything progresses. You see Drakthars on the top side, not going to get too much up there. Tell me about this opinion that I've got, which is that our top lane pool is like probably one of the most interesting like pool of top laners in the whole world, because it feels like depending on the patch, we have like a completely different variety of like how good any given top laner is. There are times where we have like absolute solo kill, like Kiaya is always good. That's pretty much an inevitability. Now you've seen like Emperor and you've seen Nagia, and Pun's usually not that bad. Hosmed's usually not terrible either. But like depending on the meta of top lane, really drastically changes who were like, oh yeah, this guy's popping off this season. Oh yeah, this is the best top laner this season. Drakthar he's
gonna find the execute.
He will, yeah.
Yeah, he really wanted that frog. He didn't get the frog.
Didn't even get it, no.
But yeah, we definitely have so many sort of like specialists in this league. Like we think of Hosmed and how good he is on things like Aatrox, Akali. Those are no longer meta, and he is suffering for it quite heavily. Hero was sort of feeling the same effects. He was always fantastic at some sort of weird picks, like he was always known as a Vladimir player, but we haven't had Vladimir for a while, so he's struggled for it, but...
We have like Hero, who jumps on like scaling picks, because I think he was also a Gangplank player for a decent amount of time, so like he's your scaler. You got like the crazy like one-on-one champions that Emperor loves, where it's like Fiora and Riven. You've got Pun, who plays like hard like one-to-one tanks, where it's like you've got like Olaf is big, but like Mundo and Tom Kench when it was popular. You got like Nagia's pool is all over the place, but you consider him like Jax and stuff like that. That's like fighters that end up scaling a little bit harder, maybe not super dominant during the laning phase. Like we have such a weird variety of top lane champions that we end up pulling from. That it's super fun to always watch, because anytime there's a massive shift in the top lane meta, there's going to just be a shuffle and a black box that pops out random names of who's going to be going crazy inside of the VCS before anything kind of gets picked out.
Oh, that's good.
Blitzcrank! There's another one! Everyone was talking shit on it, and yet here we are, another kill delivered to the waiting arms of glory. Oh, actually, Artemis is also just dead.
Oof.
With the cleanse. Yeah. No cleanse! Buffoon! No cleanse! Boo! That ADC...
That cleanse would look real good right about now, but didn't take it. And of course, because Rakan fell first, Killer Queen had a perfect follow-up to Glory's setup and 2 quick kills onto the bot lane. And this was a 4v5 setup. You see Vit, he's hanging out. He's having a grand old time mining plates. He picks up 2, I think, maybe. A little bit hard to read the tiny numbers from my screen, but he's getting gold. And there's just the hook. Look, I mean, hey, Blitzcrank can work if you land the hook from across the wall, and it looks a little bit dicey as Ron P manages to find a good exit. Ooh. But Ignite is there just in time. And Flory with the max range E flash picks up the ultimate onto Artemis, and then from there, what can he do? Nothing, because he forgot to take cleanse.
He pressed
go. He's trying
to outrun Glory is what was happening right there, and not going to happen. Now Nagia is going to get stuck up. No flash, no way out of the situation. Pun is just going to get it. It's finally a bit of action on the map here for Drakthars. They're going to be able to find a kill onto Pun. Maybe find some more damage on the tower as well. There's a bit of a hover here from Killer Queen. Honestly, I feel like this isn't a great use of the time. 14 seconds. They might lose a plate, but TP is available for Nagia. You don't have to clean up this wave, and it's just going to stick Killer Queen on the top side of the map ahead of time. Of course, that is assuming that B doesn't continue to absolutely flick Ron P with some of these hooks, as Ron P's number has been had by B all game. That's like the 3rd or 4th hook hit by B during the course of this one. Again, channeling his inner Sora as the best Blitzcrank right now remaining in playoffs, and making everybody look like fools for doubting the Blitzcrank pick.
Yeah, so we in the last series against Gum, we saw a lot of the Rakan, but it fell apart pretty comfortably when the Nautilus started being picked by Xin, as Ron OP was just sort of tanking hook after hook. It looks like the trend might be might continue. Ron OP might have a weakness, and that is just champions with hooks. Blitzcrank has the strongest hook in the game if it hits, so that's gonna be rough for old Ron. Vit, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you had to back with a 1 CS call.
I mean, you don't usually sell it on first back eye until you need to anyway, so it's not that big of a deal here for Vits. Like, it would have been nice to finish the boots with the completed gold from the Cole, but it's not going to make a massive difference. This game's pretty winning. It's a 1,500 gold lead already for the side of Team Wales, as they're going to be able to expand upon. Not to mention the Kraken Slayer being completed. I know it is exchange for boots. Artemis not quite on the shield, though, yet either, so they don't quite have that defense going. And at no point here is it likely that Pun is going to just show up on the bottom side for a big play, as Nagia right there did not pop ultimate, is not going to be under threat. Drakthar is going to be here in case he decides to stick around for just a little too long. Yato also can come up and make a disruption happen if you really want to.
Drakthar makes a bad angle. No, they let him go.
Not gonna happen.
So that's just going to be plates traded for the Dragon, and also more plates, I guess, for the side of Vit and B. Just short on that hook, predicting the dash, but not quite finding the range. And they're going to need to do something to help out Nagia, because this Olaf is getting off to a pretty impressive lead. And unfortunately, they roll the Camtech Drake, so this Dragon lead is not going to be quite as much of a boon as they were hoping. Yato, if that Q had landed, that would have been an all-out angle for sure. Okay, for Nagia.
Okay, there's that. That's the ultimate. Drakthar says, okay, enough of these games on the top side of the map. We will trade the one. The Rift Herald does continue to get work done, but they're not going to be able to pick a second tower, so it will just be a 1-for-1 with first tower going to the side of Team Wales, as well as a kill, which kind of, it brings back the gold at least a little bit here for the side of Cerberus once Pun ends up cleaning that one up. Mid lane's not going to fall either, even though Killer Queen is here trying to pick up plates, as it's actually a really large amount of gold that was picked up just through pure tower and plate damage that was done right there by Killer Queen shifting around the map. So props to Killer Queen. While yes, Pun does get juice even more than he already has been, that's a big win here for the side of Team Wales.
Yeah, and with this Olaf getting quite strong, I'm gonna have to point towards the Kraken Slayer a little bit and sort of question a little bit, because Pun is gonna be a menace. He's picked up that Stride Breaker, so I would have really thought the Gale Force to just try and build that little bit of extra distance, maybe dodge out one undertow. An extra undertow would have been big for Vit in the team fights, but B just trying to put the fear of God into Artemis. He can't really do much without anyone behind him, but Artemis is not going to be fooled by such petty tricks. And we just return to these lanes now. Now the ADCs are going to park themselves in mid lane. They're going to try and see if they can potentially break open some extra plates, but second Rift Herald will be the next sort of point of call, so they're gonna perhaps keep Olaf onto this top side, which would make a lot of sense. Yato can cross the map a lot faster, but pressure onto the mid lane, this looks to be the play, and Artemis dodging the sun means he will be safe.
Just might be. Okay, well, with that, things are broken apart. Turret plates no longer available for either side. As you can see, there's about 600 additional gold that went the way of Wales via this massive kind of influx from the number of plates that they picked up. And dealing with the Olaf is going to be problematic. But again, one of the biggest downfalls of Olaf is if you've got a bunch of burst damage. And again, Featherpull and Lysandra both have very immediate forms of damage when you're wanting to burst somebody out and make the kill happen. Not the highest amount of damage, but it's a lot of instant damage that Olaf doesn't always like to have to deal with. Usually one of the best counters to Olaf is any champion that's got a solid execute or a solid amount of just really upfront fast damage. Because while yes, he does get attack speed from being low, he also has the risk of palping Ragnarok and just getting one shot by anybody who's got any amount of damage in the slightest, bringing him down. So in a game like this, you have to be a little worried again of the feathers that are going to be on the ground, certainly behind you when you go Ragnarocking in, as well as Lysandra popping off, which is why I said I thought that it would be better to play Mundo, because he does the same thing as Olaf, except that he builds 8,000 health, and it's harder to bring him down. as we get a bit of fight coming on here. That's going to be Yano trapping Nagia against the wall. There's no way to finish. Rift Herald's going to reset, so they're just going to take the back of the pit. Now Drakthar's kind of stuck in a weird place. Pun's also stuck in a weird place. We'll see if the Olaf can actually find an angle to find anything into Vit and Killer Queen as they're in the back of the pit. Drakthar's going to go away as Pun is still stuck here with the flash. Goes to give you a pop, and that's going to be a start off now as Killer Queen's going to get run out immediately by this Olaf, as Olaf's going to try to put some additional damage in. Vit's getting some good damage down into this Olaf as well. Nagia's going to find the first kill onto Drakthar. Into the back line. Here goes everybody as Artemis trying to put damage. That's the hole as Artemis gets dragged out of position. A lot of members were looking really low there, but nobody is able to clean up. Now it's teleporting into mid lane, trying to find Artemis. Vit's going to run on him with Ghost. That's going to be an E coming through, as that's got going to be enough damage. Artemis is even going to hit the Q, as that's 3 members brought down by Wales. The Rift Herald going over as well, and a superior fight win coming out from this team over top of Cerberus.
That looked so close to being a disaster for Team Wales, but they didn't quite have the damage, and once Drakthar popped, it was just scattered to the winds, but cleaning up 3, they get the Rift Herald, and they take the mid lane tower as well, so let's see how it starts off. It starts with Artemis having his flash blown and Pun trying to do his best and kill Killer Queen, but they go super deep. They end up dumping a lot of damage into Nagia, who gets away with the skin of his teeth, and a huge ultimate in the middle from Glory. Then the finish up hook by Artemis to put Artemis into a rough situation, and that just was all she wrote. Getting that final kill with that teleport coming through from Glory secured them that tower, and maybe even this dragon as well. So everything just falling into the hands of Team Wales. They still have a Rift Herald yet to use. That can easily break open that bot lane tower, which already took a charge earlier. They can move it top lane and break that one as well, but now it's up to it's up to Cerberus to try and get something back. They're currently overloading onto this top side to try and get some tower damage down, but Glory in the area, that's not going to result in anything.
I'm a little taken aback, because that right there from Cerberus felt like they were improvising. Like they got to the pit, and then they were like, okay, how do we approach this? And when B goes in for like the death and effectively burns both of Artemis's sums out of nowhere at the front end of the fight without anything else, that felt like a death blow, because then, your ADC so far back. Pun is trapped in the pit more or less and has to try to find a wraparound with no real supporting damage from Artemis to be able to kind of, continue forward. It felt disastrous. It felt like Cerberus's intention was to fight 5, 10, 15 seconds earlier than that, and when it didn't work out, they just had to, freestyle it and hopefully try to get something. And while, yes, they're not down a ridiculous amount, they're not down like 2.8k, which is not an insane lead at this point in the game. Again, it's Cerberus' team fighting that right there got called into question, given that you have this insane dive from Glory, this insane pick from B, and that your damage dealers in Killer Queen and in Vit are really, really on point. Pun not able to stand up to that adversity, not able to 1v5 in this game, making it difficult for the side of Cerberus to have a response in any way.
And so it looks like currently they're just going to keep trying to trade. At this point, it's 2 towers for 1, so Team Wales trading up with that Rift Herald, but Cerberus trying to do their best. Unfortunately, all the gold is kind of going onto the Olaf, and they really want to try and get as much as possible onto the Zeri, who has slipped a decent step behind Vit, who has already picked up the Navori Quick Blades and is starting onto that Bloodthirster already. This is going to be a very hard Zayed to kill for Bun, but he's building about as the more tanky route for this Olaf, so. Which makes sense. He has to sort of be in this front line pretty aggressively and try to survive as long as possible. So Death Down's going to do a decent chunk of work for him. But it's looking harder and harder. Drakthar can't just jump onto Vit either, with that Featherstone being able to deny the cease and desist. It's really up to Pun running in and getting a good angle for Ron P to dash on top and getting follow through quickness to set up the team fight, but that's what they got in the Herald fight, and they couldn't bring it home. So if that's your win condition, it's already looking a little rough.
What I'm waiting on now is when we get to team fights, can Artemis and Pun kind of lock together? Because those are your two members that you're really wanting to kind of put into place. The issue with the last fight is that not only was it the Blitzcrank, but it was also Glory and Killer Queen that had this insane dive threat into Artemis. And Yato and Rado P kind of have to be the coverage because, again, if Drakthar and Pun go forward, you need to be able to deliver that Zeri damage. As it's going to be Rado P popping the ultimate, actually gets dragged back into the rest of the team.
That's not who you
actually grabbed. No, that is not the person you wanted. Now into the rest of the team. There goes Drakthar, who's able to get an ultimate into the backline. That's going to be traded again. Nagia ends up ulting through the wall to make sure that he's not going to fall down. It's a 1-for-1 right now. Killer Queen going in with the Vi, as that's going to be a bit of damage traded back and forth. That's a big go in here from Glory, who tries to get something. They're going to get one kill, but there's so many low members here. Can Artemis kind of get themselves out of a bad situation? Now Killer Queen's low goes in. Absolutely no reason. Yato's trying to clean up some additional damage. Glory again going in at the front end of this one. Nagia's going to go down. And I think that's 4 kills, 3 kills. My apologies for Artemis. He's going to try to drop some additional damage. These Qs are not going to do enough. Artemis is not going to fall to the tower, but instead it's going to be Rado P who falls to the tower. As Cerberus does finally get a decent team fight, Fit's going to try to find maybe a feather onto Artemis on the side, but that's not going to matter. They did find something back, Mobby. They got something back here.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate one. B hooking Olaf into the middle of the team.
The worst possible.
Yeah, giving him that free passage into the backline, and then a little bit of a spicy secondary re-engage from Glory, having already spent the stopwatch. As we see here, yeah, B gets caught out.
See, this is what I thought was.
He thinks he's slick.
Oh my goodness!
See, he thinks he's slick. He's coming. He tries to flash and then get Rado P on the follow-up, but he pulls in the Olaf, and it's kind of all right. But then Killer Queen gets a little bit spicy with it. Glory coming in, getting this re-engage is huge, but after this, they could just back off, but Killer Queen's like, no, now I'm Olaf, now I run in, but he just dies. And from here, they didn't need to try and go back in, but they did, and this ends up feeding another kill over to Artemis. They sort of just get away lucky that Artemis doesn't die and the shutdown doesn't end up in Vit's hands, but Ron takes the L for his AD carry instead.
Very true.
All right, B. Let's see if you can redeem yourself. Don't try and hook the Olaf again.
Yeah, that one would have done a lot more. Yeah, there was no follow-up on that one. See, the big difference is that everybody on Cerberus was readily available for when Rado P was going to get pulled. When Rado P dodged that away and Drakthar, or my apologies, Pun just gets pulled in, presses Stridebreaker, and all of a sudden the entire team's stuck underneath the Olaf's damage. That's the difference maker. As that's going to be Chemtech Soul. I think this is just going to be given away there. There's no way that they're contending against this here. That is maybe a mistake. The soul is powerful, and obviously it always exists as in a state of being something very useful for whatever team is grabbing it. There's never a negative grabbing it. Other than that means Elder Dragon's going to pop up here in about 5 minutes at about the 28-minute mark, something like that, 27-minute mark, something along those lines. And when that happens, Cerberus, who is not down a ridiculous amount of gold, only down about 2,500 gold at this point in the game, can fight for that. Can join them in the pit and say, hey, let's 50-50 the Elder, let's go for it. And if they end up taking it and taking a team fight, the game is basically back to neutral. The game is basically back to done. So I don't always love this. Stalling usually the soul point is usually a beneficial thing to do for this exact reason, is you don't want to give a win condition over to the side of Cerberus, and that's exactly what you've just done.
Yeah, Chemtech, and like individual Chemtech souls are not all that strong. Now the tenacity could be something big, and considering you're looking to play a lot of like instant burst to carry and then carry on and then continue the fight from there, and that might give angles for Artemis or Yato to flash out, be a little bit safer. But overall, I think you didn't have to take that on spawn 100%. You could have let that sit a little bit, try and push in for some more control over these towers, maybe, and then if you're not really getting anywhere, then fall back and take it. But right now, it's off the map.
Nice.
Baron is on it, and Team Wales are looking to try and use it to force Cerberus into a bad position.
Okay. We're waiting to see. I was waiting to see if they're going to bait. Blitzcrank obviously is super valuable in these positions, and maybe that's why they feel like they can do this, because again, the team with all of the pressure on the map, with all of the push on the map, with the pick tool on the map, is Team Wales. So setting up around this Baron buff and kind of just bunkering in this area for the majority of the next few minutes until that Elder Dragon becomes a legitimate chance. Also doing a decent amount of damage to this. It's already down to half health. They're going to spot it right now. Drakthar is going to be available to try to go over the back of the pit. They already have vision back here. Yeah, everybody knows everybody. Okay, that's a decent pick now onto Glory. Glory's going to have to leave. Exhaust is going to go down. E's going to get him out of a bad situation. Pun was in a really weird place, kind of standing against 4 members. As now it's a 5v4. As Glory cannot re-enter quite yet. Going to have to TP back into this one. As it's Cerberus who's going to now usurp the Baron take, but they're going to leave as well. As that's again just that is a call that is made by Wales to try to get some kind of fight. The flank doesn't work out. Now Pun in a pretty bad situation, but not going to get caught up by anything. Had the Ragnarok too, just in case there was a Q from Nagia or a Q from Blitzcrank to potentially come out and make that pick happen. So instead, we're right back into where we were, minutes ago, right before the Baron had started.
Yeah, Yado jumping on top of Glory, actually working out well, had the cleanse in his pocket, and meant that Glory could have tried to teleport back in, but the ultimate had been spent. It's back up now.
Can't leave quite yet. Okay. They can't leave quite yet, because again, it's a half-health Baron, and Drakthar is here on the backside. They actually might commit fully. They got vision of what's going to happen. He's going to have to jump into the pit and contest it right now, as that's going to be a fight potentially going down. That's Killer Queen confirming the dragon, as Nagia is going to go into the backline, going to find that kill against the very, very low health, low armor member of this team, as that's going to be Vit, having to pop ultimate, doesn't want to get caught up in that seismic shove. That's Artemis who gets caught up as well in a bit of CC, and the chase down is very real, although they finally have enough distance that it looks like the Team Wales is going to be able to get away, increasing their gold by about 1,000, not much more than that quite yet. Structures, mid-inner, bottom-inner, both available, as well as that's the setup you're going to want for the Elder Dragon here in 2 minutes anyhow, so probably working perfectly into their favor to set up for this Dragon play, as Cerberus now backs against the wall, have to figure out a way to get into this bottom river to make sure this Dragon does not just mean their execution is on the way.
Yeah, and you only really lost Nagia, Vit finding a huge 3-man feather pool to guarantee the escape for the rest of the team. And as you said, these are the 2 towers that are the prime targets to take with this Baron, and they also set up the Dragon extremely well, so they can set up a nice 4-1 in these sides. Nagia should just be trimming the top wave, making sure it is pushing in the favor of Wales, and should be joining the rest of the team shortly. As now begins the push into the jungle. Drakthar will get away from the push of Killer Queen and B, but right now the setup is a little bit scuffed by Team Wales. They aren't able to really crash these waves. The wave clear is just a little bit too good at the moment, despite the Baron buff. I guess you're only really denying a little bit from the side of Yado. Artemis also going for that Renard's Hurricane will make the wave clear a little bit cleaner from them as well, but look for B. Okay,
a bit of a play coming out. That's B. B's going to go down. A couple of members now on the side of Cerberus are super low, though, as that's going to be Drakthar going down. That's going to be a second member. Artemis still in the backline, able to do some really significant damage with this rune ends and with this ultimate. His pawn is going to go down as well. And despite the fact that Artemis is untouched, not able to step back into the fight, not able to come back into the pocket, because of that 40 seconds now, death timers are... They're good enough that maybe it is possible for Cerberus to kind of stand up, but they are likely to lose mid tower here. Or bottom tower, my apologies. Mid tower is going to be under the defense of Artemis, as that's going to be bottom tower getting shoved up. They might fancy themselves even maybe an inhibitor push, but Yado is going to be able to stop that one, as now backs are coming through from both teams. There's going to be sufficient time, I think, to get back here for Drakthar, for Pun, for Bron OP, which means they get another fight attempt. It is a 6,000 gold lead. It did get further ahead here as the time has ticked on. But again, win conditions still not dead in the water for the side of Cerberus. They can still try to win this coin flip of a fight around the Elder Dragon. If they are super lucky, or if they get a nice steal, they have a legitimate chance at it. As it is available, they have to walk through all this jungle. Pun is just now coming out, but they can get to it. B's going to sit on the corner, ready to take. That's going to be that. That's a big pick. That's going to be Drakthar going down. B maybe traded back, but that's not going to be a big difference. And now they're going to have to 50. They're really hoping that they can steal this dragon away. That's going to be the Elder Dragon taken up, and now there is doom spelled for the side of Cerberus. Yado has to cleanse to get out of dodge as fast as possible. Artemis is going to try to drop damage on the back end of this fight, but Artemis is going to go down. And now Yado, super dead. Yeah, everybody's dead. There's dead men on my screen, and everybody else on the side of Wales, as they're going to be able to clean things opens up the graveyard around this bottom side as Cerberus tried to hold on, but that will certainly spell the end of the game as Wales will likely go up 2-1 here on this push. If not, it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's not going to take too long before they end up getting a W in this game.
They can just sort of walk through, clean this one up, join up with the wave in top side, and try to utilize that. Pun is heading straight for it, gonna try and clear these minions as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. That's all he can do, but there's an extra wave approaching from the bot lane, so maybe they might not be able to end the game straight away, but it's 2 inhibitors and they get a reset with a lot of gold and go for round 2.
They've got a minute 30 on their Elder Dragon back up. They could walk back onto the map again. They've got Baron in a minute 30, so there's nothing that will stop them from running right up mid lane, running right up top side, setting up for the next Baron, getting the siege underway. And again, the Blitzcrank, you talked shit on it. Our desk talked shit on it. Yeah. How many times has it found pay dirt in this game? It has been electrifying.
Well, I mean, the late game Sora substitution was unexpected, but it came up huge. As B finds a huge pick onto Drakthar, and that means the dragon is pretty much guaranteed, and from there the cleanup is easy pickings from Team Wales. Mm-hmm. As mentioned, Pun with good awareness to clear the waves meant that they couldn't go for an end, but as you said, still a minute on this dragon, just up 45 seconds now, but able to just straight walk up mid lane, and even if they don't end, that'll be 3 inhibitors and an easy track onto the Baron.
Yes, it will. 4th item just got finished for Artemis. Again, it's not Infinity Edge, it's Bloodthirster. I was hoping it would be Infinity Edge. I don't even know if he's going to end up with one of those crit items. It feels like you need one in order to actually win this game. If you want that top-end damage to make things happen, is the base defense is going to be here. 20 seconds until the Elder Dragon. Will they push for more? Yano actually is a really good wall off to make sure that there is nothing coming from the bottom side of this map, so they only have the one wave to deal with as Artemis has to find a way to survive. Blitzcrank almost finds him again, which would have been the end of the game right then and right there as they just get the top Nexus Tower. But that is all they're going to be able to get as the Elder Dragon is now gone. The rest of the game, I mean, they did more than sufficient damage to the rest of this base. All it takes is one even meager fight win, and that's all that's going to be necessary for the side of Team Wales to go walking in. Is Cerberus is not letting them walk out for free. They're still poking away at this team as they go through. Drakthar looking maybe for a Q over the wall, but instead he's going to get engaged on himself. Not going to find the kill, does Vit, nor does Killer Queen. As in goes Rono, PW goes down. Glory's going to take a bunch of damage on the front end as Artemis is going to have to do a lot of damage on the back end of this fight. That's going to be a lot of damage delivered by Artemis as he's doing quite a bit. Killer Queen actually taking quite a bit as well. Can Artemis actually get it done? No, he cannot. And everybody else on the team is basically gone. He and Yada are the only 2 remaining members. The damage was sufficient for sure, as they have to be very cautious about approaching Artemis at this point. The problem is the ultimate is gone, so the range advantage is now no longer there, and you can see, taken advantage of by Vit and Killer Queen, that's going to be Yada going down. And despite the very, very clear possibility of Cerberus coming back, at no point was Wales willing to give them a single fight as they go 2-1 in the series.
Yeah, this looks